Introduction, 28th of December, early in the morning, just past dawn. So I wasn't planning, but I've made 3 waffly films. Why are they waffly? Because by necessity, the scientific method. Sheep are much more interesting. Yes, people on one side of the argument have termed the people the sheeple. It's not that. The scientific method is extremely politicized, complex. The 28th of December is an important day to me. It always will be. Oh, it's going to be lovely and warm tomorrow. Is there enough light in here? I don't know. Right, the introduction is as follows. It's very, very simple. So simple. On the 24th of December, late afternoon, I went for 1.5 pints of Guinness in a cafe pub in a small town that just so happens to be in Wales. I live in the Marches, or have lived in the Marches 27 years. I plan to go and live in Europe in a few months, if I can. I haven't been out to a bar for years. That's my choice. I certainly haven't been to a New Year's. I don't go to any nighttime event. But for a couple of months, I've been busy organising my life. It's so damn. There's only one irritation in life: the endless intermittent faults. You got one just about usable laptop that works, and then the next day it doesn't work. The charger doesn't work, and I'm so organised. Before losing my address, I made sure I had 2 AC charging units for each laptop, because one's bound to break, and one's broken yesterday. A new one. The endless rubbish you buy off eBay. You do your best. You act in good faith. Anyway, to the point. I sat in a bar. Now, a year ago, I actually, you see, personally, oh, it's heresy to say so, but I had the most fantastic, I had the second nicest winter of my life last year. I think pretty much today, a year ago, we were gathering for my my illicit girls riding club.com and having a wonderful time to walk in the hills with people who wouldn't normally have the time. Things closed down, shut down. So personally, I couldn't care less what rules come along. In that case, animal welfare trumped anything else. Thank you very much. To the point. 24th December, having finished off my personal organisation to make sure that I can carry on functioning just about without an address for a while, whilst I assess where I wish to be based next, and really have some lovely night's sleep, like last night with the rain pittering on the window, on the roof. I went for a pint and a half of Guinness, and I had a lovely time. There was a family out for some family celebration who were on the table next with a couple of young kids. Now, within 10 minutes, A little 4-year-old girl who had a balloon next to me was actually tickling me under my armpits. Somebody else's kid. I'd never met them before. I had a lovely time. Now, so what? But to be crystal clear, there was not a mask in sight. There were a lot of people out. There were a lot of people just... it has to be said, the sadness, there were quite a few middle-aged blokes not talking to anybody else, nursing their solitary, rather lonely pint. So be it. Even round here, 3 small, 1 high street towns within 10 miles. It was such a lovely thing. Now, so what? A moment in time. All I know is if I were a 23-year-old after the last year and a half, yeah, I just want to forget it all and be this week, tonight, New Year's Eve, just letting rip. If I were 23, it's not a case of that's what I'd want. That I personally don't really. I come from a family where there were serious alcohol problems in my youth, and it's not a good thing. I'm not a Mark Drakeford temperance person, but oh, this isn't a very good video. I was sort of planning to just do a 3-minute introduction, but the point is, yeah. You see, it's about the younger people. They've got to be let go. They've got to live their life. And waking up this morning and listening to, well, it was obvious it was going to be the case, and it should be the case, because the scientific method, which is the scientific method, last year, one of the greatest things I've encountered is the physicist Lee Smolin. I even met him about 25 years ago. I grappled with his book on string theory, and over the years since, he's had about 2 or 3 different iterations of his string theory. Whatever. And there's a great film, a YouTube podcast, broadcast, homemade video. I think it's with him and Brian Keating. I had time to pursue and enjoy last year, looking at things, pondering what are the latest developments and things that I've tried to be interested in. There's a great video talk. Lee Smolin's become a little bit eccentric, to say the least. Great. And he basically says that all his own work on string theory, the fundamental nature of reality, or via the scientific method, could be completely wrong. And he basically says, yeah, just focus on those close to you. Stop thinking about the things that we probably will never understand. Now, that is one of the top scientific thinkers, philosophers in the world, if not like one of the top 5. Wonderful stuff. Just chill out and enjoy your life as it is. Stop thinking of the grander things. But the scientific method, it takes a lifetime, decades, to fully to be able to say anything on this thing called science. And it is actually an incredibly good example, and I know full well, just like with Mr. Smolin's string theory, the feeling deep inside, feeling is the wrong word, the setting in the subconscious, the psyche, and how that affects your physical well-being, health. It's not possible to fully unpick it. But in England, today, turning on, I felt great inside. for the young people and anybody else who's just going to be able to relax and have some fun this holiday period. And we know for a fact that had Labour, the Green Party, the Liberal Party been in coalition or had more sway or been in charge, that wouldn't be the case. Now, I don't like Tory anything, but that's important. History must not forget. Oh, that sounds a little bit Neil Oliver, sorry. But the scientific method strongly suggests there are different ways that we should be, should have and should be certainly now approaching this whole thing. But the scientific method includes that which I personally happen to have read widely on, studied, but is impossible to weave into the data-driven, obsessive, and it's all self-regard. The self-regard in the way that even the better scientific proselytizers put matters of the last year and a half, because it takes years, if not decades, to fully work out what is what in the psyche has also affected the health outcomes of people. And almost certainly, because as thoughtful people who do study these things, as I have, we know that scientific research has become more corrupted and frankly is far less wise and thoughtful and balanced and objective in many, many ways than it was even a decade or two ago. The research will not be done. The randomized double-blind, I mean, you can't really when it comes to a pathogen, especially one where there's this hype over its effect on people. The research will never be done. I mean, what you've basically had is the first pathogen, illness, change in the environment in respect of the normal human daily condition, where you've had this absolute onslaught via new media of opinion, and all of that opinion has been so poor, so self-regarding, sensationalist, and completely illiterate. As I said, that's a insult to the illiterate. Illiterate in terms of real cause and effect. Cause and effect is so, it's fascinating because it cause and effect in terms of the human-shaped biome, and cause and effect in terms of, well, all aspects of life science. It's you can hardly even call it a science. It's just as much witchcraft. There are some patterns that can be taken out as truths, but far fewer than the sort of the public conversation. You see, this is the problem. The public conversation is it's founded, or the modern public conversation is founded on the need for a soundbite, a viewpoint that carries some certainty, that is presented with certainty, when Rees Molan himself, we may never know. A lot of it is Canton vanity. People doing their best within the traditions that they've been educated. But yes, so you have your first worldwide event that has happened within the paradigm of all of this whole commentariat. I mean, this isn't just sitting watching YouTube videos. This is people, understandably, as of March, April 2020, feeling they need to understand what's going on. And that's the problem. Those who have the voice are, well, they're all actors, in fact. And they are. They project a kind of persona, but that persona comes from their history, the course of their career, getting to that position where they have the voice. And in Britain, and in fact most Western societies, and I don't favour Eastern medicine or anything like that, sorry, there's so much corruption and Canton vanity in that it's absurd, which of course you can't say because of, right. By definition, the spokespeople are from a life history where they've had to push themselves through a kind of cultural cleverness. I used to call them the cleverati. And they cannot, by definition, be philosophical and thoughtful. They don't know how to be. They've only arrived in the position of having some audience by the fact that they have led, even if it's by clever acting, putting some persona that appears not to be this. No, they've forced their way through by what's the right way of putting it? By charm, in fact. And there's a wonderful study about 10 years ago, the hedgehog and the fox. The hedgehog person, public commentator, politician, scientist, etc., etc. I've got to get this the right way around. The hedgehog person bumbles along and waffles like Stephen Jay Gould, for example. The fox person has charisma, is a Dawkins, has charisma, puts out their opinions with guile and wit and, in fact, sex appeal is so often the case. But looking at, for over many years, the efficacy of the point making, point scoring, their opining, in other words, does what they have said, have put out in public, does it measure up in time via an objective analysis of whether or not it was correct or true? No. The foxes get it wrong. The hedgehogs, far more often, are proven by time to be right. And unfortunately, in fact, that's actually about the most important piece of research, meta-research, almost ever. And it's been lost on the internet by all the gamers putting other things using the terms hedgehog, fox. I can't even find it. I spent 3 or 4 hours looking for it 4 or 5 years ago. Charm, sex appeal, etc. behind a scientific message. Well, it's actually pseudo-scientific because the thoughtful, bumbling, approach turns out scientifically to be more likely in time to offer the people a something closer to a real truth. There we go. And that's actually what you've had the last year and a half. But by definition, the person who is of that nature, the fox, putting out their stuff, you see, they are inherently a type A personality, a driven person, a person who needs their self-regard to be echoed in one way or another around them. And en masse, absolutely en masse, they took on this role of, oh, we all need to be worried. We all need, or even the Russell Brands, we need to look for the corruption. The amount of time I actually entertained myself watching his podcast videos last year, just like, oh God, how cheesy and trite can this man who continually says, well, I'm not a celebrity anymore, and then continually refers to other celebrities. I mean, that's the lowest form of, well, to call it narcissism would be an insult to people with genuine tragic narcissistic personality disorder. But that's the important thing. The important thing is the actors, essentially, who are the mouthpieces for public opinion and public analysis. The people forget they only arrived in that role because they are, by definition, these pushy, rather sensitive people who, by definition, don't have the time. And the time is years to ponder what is the relationship between that scientific finding in terms of a pathogen, for example, no, pathogen, bad example, cancer, etc., and the psychology that points to something not different, but interesting. And if the two could be woven together, you may have a slightly different approach to living your day-to-day life and what you share with other people. In my video number 1, you see, this business of, I said that I would be pottering around, cycling more often, 1 or 2 little high streets in May, early summer 2020, sharing with people. Yeah, come on. And to put it into context, the majority of even Britain is still rural. The majority of people, I believe, or it's probably about half-half, live in rural places where you could, within the context of last year's message, safely roam around a lot. And I would just be saying to people, look, first of all, this is a great opportunity for us to do that, particularly if you've got children. And you see, well, in fact, there you go. Why today I am making a fool of myself, putting a waffly video on, because then spring, summer 2020, even here, and it's probably one of the least densely populated areas of Britain, of England, even here, good mothers, we still live in a sexist pig nation where the blokes are off on their smartphones doing gambling all day or whatever, and mothers, women who I've known for a long time, left with the kids a lot of last spring, summer 2020, and yeah, I would meet them, and you could tell from their faces they hadn't even been out in their garden for months, and really damaging their kids, putting their fear or stress, angst onto their 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. Yeah, that then last year made me realize, didn't make me realize, I knew straight away, you have something much more serious. A pathogen that is not taking off millions of people is there. It's the job of a parent of either gender to keep their kids positive, happy, feeling good about themselves. And I saw nobody, not, or maybe one, not one person in May 2020, May summer 2020, even here, who was doing that. And the great majority of people you could see, in fact, 98% of them, were spending far more time inside, hiding away, not getting out, being healthy, when there was no conceivable reason why you shouldn't be doing that in areas like this. And that's your real problem. You know, I don't care about Tories and trips breaking lockdown. And by the way, lots and lots of people even around here were coming back and forth to London last year. You know. But I'm afraid to say it does come down to, and all the cleverati, all of my even thoughtful friends have failed entirely, ever, to speak of this. Me, I don't really like politics very much. I've had a certain amount to do with it, whatever it is. But you've only got your vote. That's it. Peaceful protest, even, which has to be sustained and to some degree, well, you know, it's as simple as this. The poll tax riots, were they late 80s? They did make a difference. I didn't like them. I watched them on television. No, this is horrible. This is too far. I used to spend time with the sort of people that would behave like that. Not like that on that occasion, but would go to festivals, etc. But no, that's too much. I agree with the principle. I agree with the cause, but the behaviour, nah. Peaceful protest, sustained, I completely agree with. But we all know it would be essentially shut down for newspaper headline reasons now. They've got their perfect excuse. Even the Tories would shut it down. So you've only got your vote. That's the reality. And that's kind of the way it should be. And we all know democracy is the least bad of all different worse arrangements. There you go. That's the reality. And I don't like to wake up. I don't like to wake up on a week that I'm really enjoying, particularly because it's lovely and warm, which is okay, not a good thing because it's probably due to shifting climate patterns. I don't like to wake up and think, thank God we've got the Tories in England. I don't like to wake up and think like that. But the reality is, waking up and realising, well, if I wanted to, I could go and have a pint this evening, or an orange juice or a coffee in a pub, and no one's going to bug me about some frankly, via the scientific method, fairly absurd, give us your phone number, do this. And you see, the whole of this, your Neil Olivers, a lot of them, I think they also fail on something. You know, I was speaking to somebody in London in the spring of 2020, a woman who was holed up in Hackney, who said to me, there's loads of people out on the street. And I know myself, I'm not the sort of, I don't really do conspiracy theories, but last year, 2020, the couple of occasions I went to cafes in a town 15 miles away, and they got their signs, give us your details. I just said to them, oh, my mobile phone's broken. You know, Britain has a healthy streak of anarchy, which is represented in what I've just said. That's not anarchistic. I'm just like, I'm not giving my phone number to anybody. Sorry. Because I know they'll end up using it for sending me marketing texts later on. Yeah, I don't want to wake up thinking, thank God the Tories are in charge in England. But I know the fact that today, tomorrow, I mean, I don't matter. I'm an old git, but a 23-year-old matters. If I can go and just be myself when a lot of this is hype nonsense anyway, the scientific method will, in time, certainly trumpet. That's a good thing for them. So thank God the lowest of all common denominators, with their false pity, false vulnerability, and endless, completely incorrect presenting the NHS as like all Mother Teresa's, when they are not at all. Thank God they aren't in charge. That's all I say. For the sake of my 23-year-old daughter. Well, I hope she's in England.